Good morning. This is Lauren Nicole Fonville, Integrative Energy Practitioner, certified in EFT, Reiki, and yoga. And I help my clients who are struggling with chronic pain and chronic stress to find freedom and feel better. That's what it's really all about. And today, what I want to talk to you about is surrogate tapping, and maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not. Surrogate tapping is where you can tap for the benefit of someone else. So this is where you're tapping for someone else. Now, why would you want to do this? Now, if you are a big believer in tapping like me, it might be that that it could help, and it's also possible to do this with animals, right? And obviously, an animal isn't able to tap on themselves, and so doing it that way, doing it for children who may not have the attention span to be able to tap. Yeah, and I know that when I was first introduced to this, I thought, well, that just sounds weird. I mean, it's weird enough that you tap on yourself and that works, but now you can tap on yourself and it can work for somebody else when that's your intention. And I was skeptical, just like I was when I was first introduced to tapping in general. I was skeptical, and I started with doing it with my dog. And I was actually working with a practitioner who specialized in working with animals. And at the time, my dog was dealing with, or not really dealing with, but he was barking, like excessively barking. And now I miss that barking because Baxter is no longer with us. But at the time, it was driving me crazy. And for those of you who have been following along with me since the beginning, there are many videos where he's in the background. A lot of the time he would be right here, or sometimes underneath the desk back there. And the only reason why he was in here all the time was because if he wasn't in here, he would be barking, right? And so the barking got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try this surrogate tapping thing and worked with this woman. And I'm going to use that as the example of how you do surrogate tapping, right? And also give you an example with a person as well. So the approach is the same, right? When you do this. So when you first start tapping for someone else or for an animal, you want to start tapping, talking about the situation. So in the example of my dog, I would say things like, even though you're barking all the time and I don't understand why, and it's really frustrating for me, that's just how it is. All of this barking is making me really frustrated. It's so annoying. I don't understand why you're doing it. Why? What is going on? It's so frustrating, right? So you're just talking about the situation. Same thing as if you were doing this for a person, right? I recently did this for my son who's experiencing some anxiety. He has some resistance with tapping with me, even though he's old enough that he can. But this can be particularly useful for children that are super little and not able to do it. And so he was dealing with some anxiety. So I was tapping, saying things like, even though he's really anxious and it's making me anxious too, we're going to get through this. Even though I feel all of your anxiety and I understand why you're worried, it's going to be okay. I know you're anxious and I love you, and I know this is hard. It's a hard situation and it's frustrating. It's hard for me to see you like this. And you can go into detail about the situation. So that is step number 1. Tap about the situation, right? Now you want to be sure that when you're tapping about the situation, you're not projecting what you think should be done or what that person or should be doing about that situation. You want to be sticking to the facts. Okay, step 1, tap about. Then we want to tap talking to the person, right? So in this situation with my dog, I could say something like, you're annoying me, and I know there's a reason why you're barking, and I don't know what it is, but I love you, and I want to figure this out together. Why are you barking all the time, buddy? I don't get it. I love you. I'm here for you. You don't need to bark at me, right? So you're talking to the animal or to the person. So in the situation of my son, it was I would say, I know you're worried about this test tomorrow. I know you're scared you're not going to do well, but it's okay. Whatever happens, it's going to be okay. You prepared the best that you could, and no one's going to be mad at you. I know you're trying your hardest, and let's just take some deep breaths together, or whatever comes to mind, right? A lot of the time when we start, let's go back, step one, talking about the situation. Once you talk about the situation for a while, it kind of almost naturally moves into talking to the person or the animal. So step one, talk about. Step two, talk to. Now step three, this is where things can, at first, I'll just say this, when I was first introduced to this, this particular stage of this process, I was like, I don't really know. But particularly with my dog, it opened up a whole can of worms, right? So now, as step three, this is talking as the animal, talking as the person, right? Which sounds silly, right? But you're giving that person, using your voice as that person. So with my dog, it was, and I wish I had recorded that because it was something else. So now I'm saying, well, Mom, I want your attention. That's why I'm barking all the time. Why aren't you paying enough attention to me? And as we went through this, and me talking as my as my dog, it was like, well, Mom, when I was little and I was in the hospital, you told me I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? So 15 years ago, when we first got Baxter, we had this whole ordeal where it was terrible. We took him to get his nails clipped, and when we did, they held him down because he was going so crazy to clip his nails. Doing so caused him to get edema, fluid in the lungs. He couldn't breathe. He ended up having to go to the emergency vet. He was at the vet for, I think it was 4 or 5 days in an oxygen box. And I was just telling the story to some friends. I always thought oxygen was free, right? It's all around us. Yeah, no, not at the vet's office when it's in a box. Definitely not free. But when he was in there, I was devastated. He was a puppy. We had just gotten him within 2 weeks prior, and I was like, "It's okay, buddy. You're gonna be okay. You can do whatever you want. It's okay." And I had said that to him. I literally had not thought about that at all, in years. And as I'm tapping, that thought comes up of him being in that oxygen box as a puppy, and me telling him, "It's okay. You can do whatever you want, bud." And his whole life, he really did whatever he wanted. So perhaps I was to blame. I don't know, but yeah. So you talk as the dog or the animal, or as the person. And for me, as that happens, different visions come up, as I just shared, different thoughts, and I think part of why this works so well is because, number one, we're clearing our own energy around the situation, and especially with animals. I mean, with humans too. People feed off of your energy, right? So if my energy is clear, if I'm calmer, the animal's going to pick up on that. And within days of doing these tapping sessions for Baxter, I noticed a difference. And I was like, is this real? Is this real life? Is this really working? I really did not expect it to work, especially with the dog, because he'd been being so annoying with the barking. But lo and behold, it did, and there was a significant difference. And since then, I've obviously used it really primarily for my kids. So, and doing it for my son too. It also, I guess, helps me get into the mindset of what he might be thinking, like, oh, I'm scared I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do well, or what if my friend sees that I did bad on the test? They're going to make fun of me, or it makes me. I think it makes me think of things from a different perspective, and again, that's shifting my energy, which is then affecting the person or the animal that you are tapping for. So I hope that is helpful information. Just to recap again, step one is to tap talking about the situation. Step two is to tap talking to the person. And then step three is to tap talking as if you are the person or the animal. And knowing that sometimes you don't have to do all three steps, right? Sometimes just tapping about the situation Well, number one, it could be a time constraint thing. You don't have time to do all of that. But maybe you already, you yourself feel a shift after just tapping about the situation. And then maybe when you interact with the person or the animal, you notice a shift there too. So just knowing that it doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing, but taking the time to reset, which is really, I think, what this is all about, is what it's about. It's just resetting your energy, coming back home to yourself, as I always like to say. So I hope that is helpful. If you have questions about it, drop it in the comments below. If you are looking for more information on tapping for yourself, or you have something that you feel like you haven't been able to kind of break through, please reach out. I have a link for a free consultation in the notes here below, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye, guys.